Welcome to the latest edition of MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. Tim Wood on a rainy, dreary Saturday morning.
He didn't take his coat off to stay? Were you not staying?
No.
Were you 15 minutes?
It's all about the branding.
Oh, my God. All right, I guess.
You know?
Well, I wouldn't know that because I haven't gotten any gear or anything.
We're working on it.
Way.
We're working on it.
I'm on my second year, and I still don't have anything.
I have second. These guys, look at this. It's 20 seconds in.
Like vultures.
Lou. all 22. Lou. And Lou doesn't have any gear yet either. So
that's a crime.
So it is an absolute crime. We're working on it.
Tim, are you going to introduce me to the guy down the end? Because I don't know who he is. It's so you're wearing a coat and now you're being rude, not introducing me to the new.
I don't know if I would.
Billy Pip.
I don't know if I want to meet the guy that's wearing red after Methuen-Central lost to Central. I think he did that on purpose.
Mr. Methuen.
I think he was searching
so-called
through your
Mr.
closet.
Methuen wearing a red jacket on the day after.
First of all, Mr. Carpetbagger and Mr. Valley Guy, they took the red out of Red Raiders at Central when I was in high school, okay? So they have been a blue team for a long time these days. Not something I'm happy with either, by the way. Not something I'm very happy with.
I told you he was an old school guy right there.
Politically correct stuff. Lowell are the only Red Raiders now in the MVC.
Yes.
So they are just the Central Raiders. So this happened to be in my car, and I thought it was pretty sporty, so I threw it on.
If you're a Methuen guy, you're blue today.
I'm a Lancer.
You're blue.
I'm a Lancer guy. My family is a Methuen group. You weren't allowed to wear red in Lawrence High School.
No, that's true. That's
at all. Dave Garibaldi was my basketball coach. If someone wore red, that whatever item was being ripped off.
Jared loves Central.
Yes, he does.
my son going into the game yesterday had a red flannel, like, long sleeve over his T-shirt because it was cold. I'm like, no. Go back to the car, grab your sweatshirt. That does not fly. I'm sorry. No.
Take it off.
Take it off.
So it's good to see you again, Hector. I know you. It sounded like you missed me last week.
Honestly,
being on assignment.
I don't know.
Being on assignment.
I don't know.
And I do want to give a 30-second shout out, though. I know this is the MVC Gridiron,
yes.
but Greater Lawrence is a little hidden gem of a school that a lot of great staff there, a lot of great teachers, great kids, and it was a heck of a football game to watch Greater Lawrence against Northeast. Both sides had some great talent, and it was, for a smaller school like that, it was a good football game, and the Reggies won in the last couple of minutes, and one of the juniors who I coached him in lacrosse, Shamil Diaz, had a couple of touchdowns and really was a difference maker, but it was a really solid football game on both sides.
Well, the two of you were at Methuen last night, I suppose.
Now, before we get into all this, I just, like you said, a quick shout-out. We forgot this on the Wednesday show, and I don't want to let another second go by. Bert Hamill passed away on October 6th. Not a football guy, a hoops guy,
community guy.
Legend, a community guy, unexpected. Although he's been through a lot on the health side, just a devastating loss to the community as a whole, to the youth sports community, to
the boys club,
to the boys club. Name it. Just all the things that he did, and. Call me a carpetbagger, but I'm smart enough to know and to have seen the last part of his life, and just seeing, even after he got sick, what he put in to every kid that was in front of him. I saw him with his youth group at Launch Trampoline. And he's coaching them on how to jump on the trampoline. It was love. It was love. Like, to take and it was, I don't know. To the Hamill family, to the basketball community, heavy hearts. And listen, I own Loop Weekly over Media, but I do want to give a shout out to the Eagle Tribune because they did a hell of a tribute to him. They've always done well by him and covered him well, but the tribute they did to him, if you haven't seen it online, it's really well done, bringing in a lot of different voices. and definitely look at that.
Well, I will say this.
You certainly can speak to this.
Yeah, I will say this about Bert. He was the first guy I ever interviewed as a professional. My first.
Oh wow!
My first gig at the Eagle Tribune was making $15 a game to cover Merrimack College men's basketball way back in the day, and he was infectious. A guy you got to love really quick. I knew Bert, 30-some plus years, and I'm not sure if he really loved me or really hated me over that time, just because he was so unpredictable and he was my kind of guy, very sarcastic, very loud, very boisterous, very driven. I will say this: I run into a couple guys in Lawrence, working with the younger kids. There are a couple guys in Lawrence. Bert is absolutely one of them. He's like a Pied Piper in Lawrence. You mentioned to any kid who's played basketball in the city, and you mentioned Bert's name, and they all light up. They all light up, and there are a couple guys in the city like that. It's kind of hard to understand. It was almost hard to understand for me, the passion these kids have for Bert Hamill. And like there are a couple guys. Like I said, Stevie Martinez in Lawrence is another one. These guys, the kids gravitate to them. Like Paul Neal is another one. The kids just find a way. They just find this vessel, this basketball vessel, and Bert was a guy who offered it to him. I freaked out when I first was introduced to it way back in the day, only because you hadn't found your sarcastic self yet. No, but you walk into a Merrimack College basketball game, and this was, I want to say, when Paul was playing, so that was after Bert had recruited him to Merrimack to play there. So this was way back in the
late 80s.
Early 90s. Yeah, I think it was the early 90s. And there's, 50 kids behind the Merrimack bench, ages 6 to 16, and they're screaming like they're Dookies at Cameron Indoor. And I'm just wondering, it was so new to me. Bert instilled that passion. It was cool. The kids, they all, after Bert gave his 3-minute post-game speeches, the kids came into the locker room. It was open to them. It was like their Merrimack locker room was their school. And I don't want to run on, but I will say this. He was great to me when I was young and poor. And, Bert, can I work your camp? Yeah. We start on Monday. Make sure you're here at 7:45 and don't be late. But he was just great. Did more good things. Covered his kids in high school. I never heard a peep out of Bert for all those years. Lucas was on those great Central teams. Never heard a word from Bert as a parent. It wasn't a pain, just a great guy. So I will end it there. He was, I saw it right like you, Tim, read all those tributes, and I thought it was really special. But, man, it made me think about the old days and think about getting my start and how important Bert was to me, and just professionally, just to
you have to have those people.
Yeah.
As one of the original, kids for the first year of the ABA, I know before ABA there was Bert and Tim Howard were two guys that really got the buses rolling from the Lawrence Boys Club to Merrimack. And, I think for me, the memory is, and I told you that story that, we'll stay at our breakfast at Al's, Hector.
Okay.
Delicious.
Tough love.
Yeah, right. It's
just the epitome of tough love, where the kids that you're referencing grew up in tough situations, and as a young kid at the boys club that go to these camps, and Bert would absolutely lay into you for being lazy or not playing good defense or just not running to the next drill, side talking. He just didn't do that around that man, no matter who was talking. But that's where the respect and the admiration and the Pied Piper piece of it came in, because he spoke what he said. He said what he meant.
Never once did he say something that was gratuitous or superficial.
Nope.
If I was looking for a cheap comment or a pat on the back for a feature story I did on one of his players, he never threw it my way. He was honest, and it was refreshing. It was awesome to see it.
And I would hope to see out of this is, and I'm starting to see this around the post. Elliot Fontaine, a kid I grew up with in Lawrence, that was a pretty big time player, lives outside of Boston. Both of his kids are playing college, volleyball, basketball. That group needs to now step up and ensure that ABA comes back. I know it left Merrimack, but all these people that Bert kind of mentored and molded, this is where, that would be nice to see people come back and start that back up again.
So we just, like I said, we couldn't let another show go by where we didn't
Pay tribute.
I obviously we're a football show, but we celebrate the Merrimack Valley and everybody who contributes, and Bert is going to be missed. So prayers and love out to the Hamill family and just the sports community as a whole who's mourning a tough loss. Mm-hmm. All right, Central Methuen. Yeah, it was. They are who we thought they were. I guess that's they Central just they went in there and they dominated 28-6. Methuen fought to the end. Got a touchdown late, and not against second or third teamers. Everybody was fighting to the end. Just a lot of mistakes on the Methuen side that and Central capitalized.
Do you mean we're not starting with the chili cook-off?
It's on the star performers. I don't know if you saw the sheet.
I think Tim's facing a few losses.
Oh, I got so tonight. Now so I know why he's
starting with
that.
The one that's the least painful for him.
I gotta know how was the crowd there last night?
I put too much cayenne pepper.
Forget about your chili. I want to know how was the crowd last night? Was it as good a crowd as I thought it might be?
It was a solid crowd. I'm going to be honest.
It was quickly subdued, though.
I thought it was going to be just a little bit more.
So Central didn't travel?
Central traveled okay.
They did. It's been the best traveling game outside of Tewksbury.
Yes.
Tewksbury was just. Oh yeah. That was a whole nother level. It was a good crowd. I mean, not taken away. It didn't have that wow impact like the Tewksbury game did.
The air just got sucked out of the stadium really quickly.
That's two questions though. The atmosphere wasn't as good because they scored two quick touchdowns.
Yeah.
But I meant the size and just the atmosphere pregame wasn't as big as
it. Yeah. Being in it was homecoming and it was a nice night.
It was a great night.
It was a nice night. But all that said, hats off to Central. Danny Ventura had them 14 on his Sweet 16, and they earned it. They earned the ranking, and could not be more impressed with Jared Silverio and just the attack and the size and the precision. Quite honestly.
Yeah, look, Silverio came up big. Obviously, this was
he's a big boy.
Yeah,
I didn't realize.
This is a first moment for a kid who was, basically new to the position this year, coming in after replacing Brett Edwards. And this was a really big test for them. We talked about it back earlier in the year when they lost to St. John's, that this was going to be a better team come October into November. And, I guess the elephant in the room was the elephant in the room. We weren't sure. There were a lot of questions when you return only three starters back from a really good football team. You're not sure, but they answered the call last night. So that's, obviously that locks up the league for them, pretty much.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Crazy scenario happens. They go into Haverhill next week and lose. What happens then? Three-way tie.
Yeah.
What happens?
I got you. I hear you.
Does it end as a tie, Hector? I mean, we're still we were talking about this morning. How do they?
The one thing I learned a long time ago about the Merrimack Valley Conference is they love themselves some hoodies. So that will be tri-champions, quad champions. What's the number? This is
so the apparel guys are rooting for the
Merrimack Valley Conference is the conference of the sextatopoli MVPs when the MVP, back at the height of the conference's sharing attitude. They used to name 6 or 8 conference MVPs, and it was gross. It was every in a 40-man. All-conference team, and they've toned it down a little bit, but they like to share in this league. So I will just leave it at that. That everybody gets a hoodie, baby.
I think the difference is with the win that Haverhill had last night, 24-3 in Andover. It does make it a little bit interesting.
Yeah, I guess I'm a little premature saying the league is in there.
But it's more of a question. It's more of a question because you definitely have a better understanding. Mm-hmm. I don't get into the playoff
right,
and all that, so I'm hoping to hear from you.
Yeah,
two things though: the Central depth.
Yes,
You know,
the depth.
not any other team other than even North Andover, which is top, has the amount of depth.
Here comes the Lawrence Anger, Bill. Here comes the Lawrence Anger. This is it.
No, we're purposely gonna try to avoid that this morning. We'll save that for the end of the season.
Yeah, was the depth that they do have kids. If someone gets hurt, there is depth there. That's a strength. I'm not, there's. I grew up in Lawrence, so I have my Central thing. But this is a show about MVC football.
Right.
They just have depth. And that's something that last night showed, that every position, as much as they're rebuilding, they still have solid depth of seniors and juniors that they can kind of pull from. That's a fact.
No one's ever going to shed a tear for Central Catholic. Let's put it that way. And should they? I mean, we've talked about it before, and the numbers game that goes on over there, Bill, honestly. But that depth is built out of tradition, desire. We talked to Cam Bowes last week. Once the first Bowes broke through and went there was like no question that the next two were gonna come. And again, that was as royal blue a Methuen family as you will see, the Bowes, and so that's just part of the dealio here. It's
no, I'm not denying that. I'm just saying, but as far as the game last night, that was
sure.
And they're a well-coached team. They did, those players did. They ran the game plan.
Yeah.
And then you look at Methuen that had their game plan, and first and 20 isn't the best way to start a drive and things like that.
Me and her Ramon setting up the early early bulletin board talk. Central losing to Haverhill? Nah.
So it's not a prediction. It's not a prediction. It's
Ray Pilot laughing.
If it were to happen, what would happen?
I think he's laughing. Is that the? Explain that emoji to me. That's like laughing out loud with tears. That's basically what that is? Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah.
Ray, come on.
Okay, but
we just saw him. We just saw Ray and Al's.
Can we digress for 1 second?
Yes.
What's the difference between the laughing with tears emoji and the one turned on the side?
Oh, I don't know.
The one turn
the emoji with the tears turned to the side. Can somebody please explain that to me?
No, I can't. My emoji game is not strong.
Next time we get a young guest, I'm asking because I know none of us.
Who's probably going to know the answer?
No,
I don't know the answer. No, Ray Pilot's got a better emoji game than I do. Apparently.
And that's the other thing I was going to say. Ray Pilot with the emoji game.
So just to restate, what would it look like if Haverhill beat Central?
Yeah.
Not Haverhill's beating Central.
No,
let's all relax a little bit.
And let's not.
What would it look like if dogs and cats lived together?
Look, if that happens, like I say, no. Obviously, the points and the craziness of the playoff system is something totally different than the league. But this league has had co-champs and tri-champs forever, though. That's all I'm saying,
So let's set the table, because and by the way, folks, love it that you're hitting us up before the show. Been getting hit since about 8:30 this morning. Who's on the show this morning? All right, here's our lineup. We got Freddy Gabin coming up at in the next few minutes. He'll be our first guest today. 273 yards last night in the exclamation mark win for North Andover over Drake It.
That's 2 game stats right there.
Can we say they sealed up the small school? Can I say that now?
Yes.
Without repercussions from any other town on the planet? They're already going to stop me at the border when I go back to Haverhill today?
We can officially say it now. Who you got a couple? We got the low coach in theory.
Yes, John Florence. Going to work on him a little bit later in the show, and I'm told.
Great win for Lowell last night, 15-14. Flip side of that, we're 1 2-point conversion away from having Randy on and having our first Lawrence guest on the show. Because if they only had a kicker.
The opposite of the kicking game right there. Yep. Not having one at all.
Right.
Yep.
Actually, you were Lawrence back in the day, but Larry Klimas would never have a kicker, and we would roast the late Larry Klimas, who was a legendary Methuen coach. Tim, honest to God, one of my favorite guys ever in this game. Would never have a kicker, and we would go after him. Guys would rip him in print, and the venom Larry had for the Trib was just based, I think, on the fact that we would rip him for always going for 2.
Nice.
Half of the Coaches Cup, the Andover Methuen.
Right.
Yep.
And look, there really is no excuse for not being able to kick an extra point in this day. I don't know how to put it any other way.
But at least the Lawrence coach addressed it. Yeah. He would have kicked it if he had someone that could do it. So it's not like he's his tradition is to not do it. It's I just don't have somebody.
Again,
only kicker got a concussion, then he moved, and we've been able to find another kicker.
Right. So
My kicker
one
moved.
of the rules.
The kicker got concussed and moved.
One of the rules I would hate. I mean, I would love to see, that I hate right now. I would love to see change is the fact that you can't play two sports in the state. So I would love to be able to see like a Lawrence soccer kid or an Andover soccer kid come over and kick field goals on Friday nights.
Right.
Good call.
The state does not allow that. The MIA does not allow that. In New Hampshire, they do allow it. So there's some great kicking game going on up above the border.
Yeah.
But that's one of those rules that you'd love to see changed. I know they're trying to, the student athletes and stuff, but there has to be an exception for that. You know, like kicking is an important part of football now. And like I say, there is no excuse. And why would you deny, like a soccer kid who would like to do both? Why would
That's the Methuen kicker is a former soccer kid.
But why would you not deny him the chance, the opportunity to play soccer for Methuen and then kick on Friday nights?
So we're going to talk about Central, now the MIAA, so we're just going to
And we're going to just blow it
And
out.
if we get John Florence, I'm going to talk about the league breakup the way it is and strategically and things like that.
Why would you not just have open auditions and have the entire student class go out there and kick footballs for you for an afternoon? So you can put a ball through for the extra point.
That's what we
I wouldn't disagree.
That's what we pay all 22 Lou the big bucks for right there.
See, and
That
now
would
I
be
just
a great
realized
event.
I don't have my headphones on because I couldn't hear what Lou said.
Yeah.
And
He said
Open
have
auditions,
the
like the
entire
Eagles
open
did.
audition, have the entire student body out to try out for a day.
like the Eagles.
no, I hear you. I got you on that. But again, if you're Randy and you got a first-year program and your first year with the program, you got kickers probably way down on the list of issues to address. So I'll give him a chance on that. That's my phone.
Blow it
Sorry
up.
about that.
Here's what I want to say, real quick, okay? And I just want to say this to the Methuen folks. It was a letdown game last year on Thanksgiving against Drake. This is a trap game situation going to Lawrence next week. Lawrence lost to Lowell by 1 point. You needed last second to beat Lowell. So just saying. Lawrence is 0-5, but Lawrence is ripe for a win.
They're playing hard.
They're playing hard.
So
Haverhill, great win as Bill said, 24-3. Joe Santoro came up huge for them last night on the defense. We're trying to talk defense as much as we can here, folks, because they deserve the love as much. 10 tackles, pick 6 interception last night. We're going to have Joe on later in the show, talk some Hillie's football. Great game from him. Now, listen, you can vote. We have, since there's no Saturday games today, we have the MVP vote up on Twitter at MVC Gridiron Week. We've got Freddy Gabin, who if North Andover can get out and vote this week, he deserves. I mean, if he's not winning this week, there's something wrong.
Are you trying to influence things, Tim?
I'm just saying, 273 yards,
don't complain.
249 yarders, and a 56 yard. I mean, he came into the game 277 yards. He had 273 last night.
Here's my prediction, though. Don't complain about a player from your town not working if you don't vote. But here's my prediction, though. Nolan Houlihan, even though they were on the losing
He's in
end,
there.
He's going to be in there. He was, 10 for, 20 for 25 passing. Just another.
Vote for who you want, but Tim is now lobbying for Freddie.
And listen,
lobbying.
and I'm just saying, in terms of Nolan, we saw that you hate to single out anybody for making mistakes. Bill Ricca played Central Memorial.
Catholic Memorial.
Excuse me.
What is his problem?
No, we'll talk after.
Okay,
We'll talk after.
No. Here's why I did
don't
that.
ask me.
Here's why I did that. Okay. We're at the game. I'm at the game last night. Okay. I text him.
You're going down the wrong road
I got a chili thing.
Be honest with you. Don't go down the road.
I'm going down it because I didn't. I got a chili pot in one hand. I'm texting Hector on the other, and God forbid I said Catholic is up on Methuen at the half. Well, Tim, just to be sure. Central, it is Central. It's not Catholic.
All I'm saying is, last week on the air, you called them Catholic, and
now I got so much Central in my head. Now I call Catholic Memorial Central Memorial.
Well, I'm sure that Coach DiBiase will be on the phone any minute now to let us know that you were wrong on that too, Tim. So.
Thank you.
We digress. So Nolan was 15 for 25, 257 yards passing, 2 TDs and a rushing
You're
TD.
getting me on me for digressing?
Wow, he will not stay on the
You
ball
are the
right now.
digressor.
I think that cornbread might have just taken you right there, my friend.
Yeah, I am. I'm off the rails. Yes, Nolan. But yeah, he's one of the 4. Joe Santoro is one of the 4, and then who's the 4th?
My dig is going to be Barica's going to come up.
Jared Silverio. Yeah. Okay, and by the way, again, I guess I'm just stirring it up today. I don't know they must have been the cornbread.
Must have been the cornbread.
Must have been the cornbread. You Central folks, you didn't come out for your boy. You didn't come out for your boy AJ.
Oh,
didn't come out for him. He deserved to win it on paper, and he got 8% of the vote. I'm just saying. So get out and vote. We had.
Where's Ray's emoji for that one?
Right?
Fox News is giving the clear and unbiased opinions here.
Yeah, right.
What is going on?
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. So we're gonna take a break.
Tim will take a chill pill.
And he's talking about Bill Ricca. Bill Ricca, they were this close. They were a dropped, wide open 60-yard touchdown from beating Catholic Memorial. Had to take a pause.
We call him CM in this state, Tim.
Speaking of taking a pause, we will take a pause while I pummel on Hector during the break. We'll be right back on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance.
Everyone is cashing in on social media, and all marketing roads lead through social media. If you want to make a splash here in the Merrimack Valley, you need to tap in. This is where the new CEM podcast studios come in. Of course, you can spend your time, energy, and money learning how to wrangle technology to make a podcast instead of running your business. Or you can invest in telling everyone in the Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, the Seacoast, or everywhere in the world about your great business, product, service, or yourself. The CEM Podcast Studio is a local audio and video studio dedicated to the craft of podcasts. Their studios feature state-of-the-art recording and mixing equipment designed specifically to produce the best audio and video podcasts. Best of all you need to worry about is your show, your business, and your brand. We do the rest. Call 978-686-9966. That's 978-686-9966 to schedule a no-obligation tour of the CEM facilities and meet with a podcast specialist. Or go to CEMpodcast.com to find out more about podcasting services. CEMpodcast.com, your window to the world.
I love talking about my man, Val Davila. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now Right in Place Insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and Mapfre, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? Davila and DeFusco prides itself in having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 978-241-7950 for a free quote, or visit them online at daviladefusco.com. Bob Burton. Back on MVC Gridiron Weekly. Yes, we are a little giddy here on a dreary day at the Costa Eagle Media Studios. Lou Blasi, all 22 behind the glass. So we have on the line, yes, Lou?
Yes.
On the line with us, the man, the myth, the legend, Freddy Gabin from North Andover. Sir, how are you? Tim Wood, Bill Bryant, and Hector Longo here on MVC Gridiron Weekly.
Oh, I'm good. I'm doing good.
So, Freddy, 273 yards rushing. That's a lot of running. How you feeling this morning?
A little sore, of course, but I'm feeling fine.
So, Freddie, tell us about just stepping into this spotlight, and you've been on fire the last 3 weeks here, and just exclamation point on it in in the exclamation point game for you guys last night against Drake. Tell us just about how you've been able to seize this opportunity.
Well, in practice, it all starts in practice. You go hard every day in practice, then the W's will come. So I just go my hardest. Everybody goes their hardest in practice, and that's what happens when you go hard in practice.
Having Darren Watson out last night, he's fighting back from a dislocated shoulder on a block last week. What you've been able to share the load a little bit with Darren, still put up some amazing numbers, but last night the load was all on you. What was that like, just in terms of as you're breaking these long runs and just seeing nothing but daylight?
Oh, it feels great. I mean, I've been waiting for this feeling for a long time, so it feels wonderful.
Freddie, did you have any idea this was going to happen to you this year? Obviously, you started the year as a backup. Were you thinking it was going to be a JV type thing, or were you just not going to have opportunities?
Well, going into this year, I knew I was going to be a backup, but I just wanted to make the most of what I could do. So just to try to go hard every day in practice, do good in JV games, to try my best to be out there with the team.
Now, you guys locked up the MVC small/west/ whatever title it's called these days, Division II title. Congratulations on that. But something tells me that you guys have a little bit bigger plans this year. No problem keeping focus and moving forward here from this, Freddy?
Yeah, I mean, we're all set on the main goal, which is winning the stage. So this is just a small part of the big goal.
How do you get the team to continue to keep focus on that eye on the prize when some of the wins you're having are pretty convincing? How do you make sure you're prepared for that next team that comes up that may be a little bit more of an equal footing?
Well, in practice, we know that we're facing just faceless opponents, so we just have to get better every day, and we don't care about the opponents. We just have to get better every day because we're facing ourselves every week.
Freddie, tell us a little bit in terms of the offensive line that's been able to create these holes for you. Who are the unsung heroes on your line?
Matt Sandman, Tommy Cox, Billy Reed, Carbone, he's just new in there. Rochi. I mean, they're getting better every game.
What's good about them? What's good about them, Freddie? Are they a physical offensive line? Are they just always smart and in the right place? Talk to me about them a little bit. What makes them so good right now? Because it seems like you got an awful lot of room to run out there.
I mean, they're just creating the holes, and I'm seeing them, and I'm just hitting the holes as hard as I can.
Now, that's good. Now, how about playing in a backfield with so many talented guys? You look around you with Jake and Gabe and Darren, and these are all guys who a lot has been expected of for a long time. How is that adjusting and fitting in and melding with them?
Oh, it's surreal, but they keep me going. So they always tell me not to be worried, that this is something that I know how to do, and just to keep my emotions down, and just to keep playing hard.
As far as getting touches like that with so many talented players in the backfield, it seems like you guys are sharing the ball amongst all these stars, and no issues are coming up. Is that something that you worry about or think about, or is it just next guy up, next whatever's best for the team?
I mean, it's just whatever's best for the team. So right now I could be the hot man, but next week Gabe could be the hot man. So it all depends on the week and who's hot.
So when you have a night like that, though, Freddie, even though not expected, I mean, when Gabe's not even in the write-up, because I mean, and we're talking about Gabe D'Souza, you're talking about Jake McElroy, and it's Freddie. Do you rub that in at all over the weekend a little bit?
I mean, a little bit. I gotta be humble.
Yeah.
I gotta be humble, and on to the next game.
Absolutely. Hey, Freddie, I am lobbying for you hardcore to on the being completely impartial this week. Lobbying for you on the MVP vote. Get your folks out on MVC Gridiron Weekly on Twitter, and you are 1 of 4 up on the MVP vote. Congratulations on a huge game, a huge season for you so far. And good luck next week at Billerica, and just heading into the playoffs.
Thank you very much,
Freddie. I don't know what you did, but the guy loves you. I don't know what you did.
I love the guy that just. I love the guy that's ready when the opportunity comes. Because you don't know when that opportunity is going to come, and there's so many athletes that don't put in the work to be ready for that. And to see what you're doing, Freddie, it's special. So keep it up.
So Hector, here's a poll question.
Thank you.
Is Freddie going to get a Loop Weekly shirt before you and I?
Have a good weekend, Freddie.
Take it easy, Freddie. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Before we move on, I got to know real quick: was the Freddy thing a reference from wrestling way back in the 1980s?
Nice.
Honest to God, Tim, that is the greatest reference ever.
I saw you both smile.
Oh my God, that was from the initial war to settle the score, rock and wrestling, Roddy Piper versus Hollywood Hulk Hogan back in the. Oh my God, I thought I was the only one who ever watched that video 1,000 times over. Good for you. Good for you, Tim.
Huge wrestling guy. Huge wrestling guy.
God. The day that my buddy's mother taped over that videotape we had was one of the sad days of my youngerhood. Honest to God. Tim, that was awesome. My day is made now.
All right, all in the world is right between these two guys.
We're good.
For the next 10 seconds.
We'll put the. So, okay. Right back to the phone line, as we've got we've got Haverhill's Joe Santoro on the line. Joe, Tim Wood, Hector Longo, Bill Bryant here at MVC Gridiron Weekly. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
I'm not as good as you.
Can I get my apology out of the way first?
Yeah.
Joe, I'm sorry I gave Central the title without you playing you guys next. I apologize. I'm very sorry. I'm sorry I didn't realize that they had you next week. I apologize. I'm very sorry. I just want to get that out of the way.
Don't let him off the hook, Joe. Don't let him off the hook.
Joe, I don't need you guys waiting in my neighborhood today in Hillieville when I go home, thinking that I've abandoned you guys. I just want you to know I'm still with you guys.
So Joe, let's talk a little bit about the win last night, but then I want to make sure we talk a little bit about this upcoming game with Central and how big it is for Haverhill and how hard you guys have been working all last year and this year. So talk a little bit about the win last night.
It was a great win last night. Against a team last year that kind of beat up on us. We got our revenge, and we're looking forward to next week, Now,
tell me in terms of this pick six. A month ago against Chelmsford, you're thinking that's your first ever interception. You're thinking, I'm golden, I'm in. And you get tackled at the one.
I was so upset when that happened. But, they went empty. I think they went empty, and number 3 ran a hitch, so I just jumped the hitch route 10 yards out, so I just got in the end zone.
Nice. Congratulations on that. I know, listen, I know you guys are just watching you play. You guys are not about the individual stats, but I mean, you put up a monster night last night in a key situation. Just tell us about this Haverhill team and how you've been able to. You're fighting through some adversity. You're fighting through some heavy hearts, and you're overcoming. You're kind of on the revenge tour here in terms of the way you guys have come back this season, and after losing 43-26 last year, you just dominate Andover last night. Tell us how this Hillie's team is coming along.
We've come along great. We're finally playing as a team. We're all buying into the system. The coach is always saying revenge tour, so we just want to get all our revenge from last year, because last year was a really tough year,
And how did you handle that last year? That can't be easy to go through that tough week after tough week. How do you handle that? Do you just use it to drive you in the off season, Joe, or does it wear on you? Are you human and let all that losing get you down?
Last year was rough. It got us down, but it made us hungry, come out this next season, we knew we were going to be a lot better than last year. So it kind of lit a fire under us. And all off season, we've been working hard, lifting the weights, doing 7-on-7 tournaments, and we just wanted to be better than last year.
Joe, you're how do I say this? Your class this year is a lot better than the senior class was, talent-wise, depth-wise. How have you guys stayed together?
Can you say that again? I didn't really hear you.
Your senior class is a lot better than last year's was, talent-wise and depth-wise. How did you guys keep it together over these years?
We're all just, like, buying into the system. We want to win. We don't want to have another season like last year, you know? So this year we're all buying in. We've been grinding together, working hard in practice every day, playing as a team. It's really a team sport. This team is a great group of guys, and we just, like, we really don't want that feeling from last year, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Joe,
So,
you definitely
yeah.
see that there's a lot more of a team element this year with guys having some experience last year. Give some shout-out to some of these guys that you're battling with, some of these guys that you've been lifting with, 7-on-7 with, to give them just a little bit of a shout-out.
Give a quick shout-out to my lift partner, Ryan McCartney. We call him Gibby around here. He's an absolute animal, and he doesn't take shit from anybody, so he's going to bury kids anytime, so he's a big man. David Carrero, always having a big night.
Yeah, I mean, you stole the story from David. David's been the stat monster, Joe, and the write-up was all about Joe Santoro this morning. How's David gonna handle that?
I don't know.
Joe, I want to save you here because you're forgetting somebody in this group. You might want to remember. Don't you have a cousin on your team that had a game last night? You might want to mention him.
That's my cousin. I love that kid to death.
That'd be Dante?
Yeah, big night last night. Had a few receptions, a touchdown, making big plays down the field, offensively and defensively. Had a great game last night.
You got to take care of the family first, man.
He was saving that for last, I think.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, now, in the winter, you're a wrestler. Does that translate to football? Do you feel like the two help each other out, crossing over those two sports?
Yeah, it honestly really does, because sophomore year, I started wrestling sophomore year, and honestly, I really believe, like, I wouldn't be, like, playing and I wouldn't be doing as good as I am if I never wrestled, because it goes hand in hand, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Is it technique? Is it balance? What
physicality?
Why does it go hand in hand?
Because in wrestling, it's a lot of grappling, hands-on and stuff. So, like, in football, when you need to get hands off, you can get hands off anytime you want.
Mm-hmm.
It really works well. And I'm better conditioned. I'm in better shape a lot from it, too, you know?
That's a grind in the winter, Joe, man. I don't think I've ever seen a wrestler smiling on February 1st.
I've seen a lot. Yeah, I've seen a lot of wrestlers smiling on
March 1st.
March 1st at McDonald's.
Yeah, right. I mean,
yeah.
How did you handle that? The sacrifice you have to make in wrestling.
We just buy into the system. We grind every day. It's honestly a real grind. Conditioning's hard. We just go hard at it every day, you know?
All right,
gotta keep working.
So now you've had one night to celebrate. You get a chance now to look ahead. The big blue-red / menace is coming up next week with Central Catholic. Are you excited about that game?
I am excited. It's our senior night, so we gotta come out juiced. You know.
How have the crowds been treating you up there at the stadium, at Trinity Stadium?
Oh, they're treating us great. A lot more fans are coming to watch. Stadium's packed all the time. It's great. I love playing in front of a big crowd.
How do you keep as much as Central's a huge game, how do you keep your mind just in terms of going from where you were last year to a shot at the playoffs? How do you keep that in perspective throughout the course of the week with practice?
We just keep grinding at practice every day. Last year we had 3 wins last year, and right now we already have 4 wins going into Central. So it's going to be a huge game, big rivalry game for us, and we just want to win more than anything right now.
Well,
I guess those Thursdays in the pouring rain with Coach O'Connor will keep it in perspective too, right?
That was rough, yeah.
Hey, paid off. Paid off.
The thing is,
pay off.
If you look ahead here, Joe, the Central game is a giant opportunity points-wise to move up the rankings, okay? Nobody wants to be the 7 or 8 seed in Division I North and see either St. John's again or a team down there wearing the 49er colors in Everett. You know, can you look at it that way, that this is a chance to get you guys to jump ahead? And think of it in those terms as opposed to it's a league game and it's Central and we always want to play them. But there's a lot riding on this one here.
Yeah. You know, if we want to have a fighting chance in the playoffs, you know, so we're going to keep grinding at practice every day. I'm actually at practice right now, so, yeah. So we're going to keep grinding, watch more film. Oh, we're just watching film, I think.
Okay. I was going to say.
Yeah.
Oh, big shout out to Coach O, though, for letting you on even with the film. That's awesome.
It's cold out there. Tell them no sprints today, right?
Yeah.
No sprints today.
Right. Yeah.
Any shots you want to take at Hector before we go in terms of writing off the league before next week? Even with the apology, I'm just trying to
my brown and gold here 2 weeks ago. Remember that. I was wearing my brown and gold.
Yes, you are.
I thought he did mention something about Halloween and just some of the cheapest candy in the world. So the old Necco wafers and
the Necco wafers. No Necco, no apples, no rice balls. Oh my gosh, forget the rice balls. Hey, listen, Joe, you're one of the 4 guys on the MVP vote. Let me talk. I was just gonna say I was just pushing Freddy Gabin because he did have 273 yards rushing last night. But I mean, get your vote out. Get your vote out at MVC Gridiron Week. Get your folks out. You had a huge game. We put you up as one of the 4. You definitely deserve it. And listen, I know you're not all about the individual accolades, but seriously, great game, great season so far. Congratulations on everything you're doing with the Hillies and all this success.
Thank you,
Joe. Way to represent.
And listen,
thank you.
Listen, I don't want to end it on a somber note, Joe, but I cannot let you go without just saying how special it was to see the way you guys represented against Methuen and the crowd. And just the way that you guys represented your city that night.
Yeah, that was a rough week for us, so we just wanted to come out and play as hard as we could, you know?
Absolutely. Joe Santoro, huge shout out and a huge thank you for coming on at practice and great season so far. Continued success. Good luck against the Central, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Keep grinding, Joe.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. That's Joe Santoro from the Hillies.
For the record, I come from a long line of pretzel givers on Halloween.
Oh, no.
And since I got my house, I have always given out king-size candy bars.
Nice.
Or the large full-size, not the king-size,
so
but the full-size candy bars.
Just at least let me know.
I stopped the trend. My sisters still give out pretzels.
I mean, are they Snyder's or Utz or are they like Market Basket brand?
They're like the cheapy.
Oh no!
Honest to God, pretzels.
Hey, someone's gonna stop the trend, so I can respect that. I had a feeling there was some cheapness in there somewhere.
No, absolutely.
And you confessed.
And by the way, I shouldn't even say Market Basket, just store brand, because actually most of the store brand stuff from Market Basket's pretty good. So.
But no, full-size bars at the Longo household in Haverhill, just to let you know. So
this Haverhill Central game, is there a game within a game here? In other words, you were talking about points and seeding. Is there such a thing as a quality loss? If they're down in this game, do they play for a quality loss to improve their standings?
Well, no.
Or is it basically pass-fail?
It's pass-fail, Lou. But Central comes. It's pass-fail, but Central comes with bonus points because of their previous wins. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's a little more impactful win on the
But they can't take advantage of that without a win.
Like a close win doesn't matter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk, because I knew you would deliver. We were talking about how things are shaking up right now. I knew you would deliver in terms of having it at the Avail. Mm-hmm. How is this shaking out?
Okay. So 8 teams in Division I North make it. It looks like right now Haverhill's 7th and Lowell's 8th, right on the cusp. Andover's sitting outside at 9th.
Yeah.
Obviously, Lawrence and Malden round out the division. So 2 weeks to go, you need victories here. You know, Methuen is, you think they're solid at the 5th seed at 4-2, but no one wants to drop a game or two and fall down to 8th or 7th and look at a trip to St. John's or a trip to Everett in the opener.
Andover gets a chance to jump low in week 7.
And hopefully we can talk to John about that. I would really like to know how they, if that's a factor in them keeping a team like Lowell playing hard down the stretch, to want to keep winning, to get into that playoff, to have a game that means something after the first 8. So
let's just keep going with it. All right, we've got the phone lines on fire today. Your coach, you want to start us off
with John?
Yep.
He's on the air. He's okay. So
the huge poster board that said John.
Okay, I might have missed that one. John Florence of Lowell High, you're in the house.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Hey, John. Good to hear from you. Good win last night.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was definitely a good one. Hard fought. Kids played well. Lawrence, a lot of credit to them. They obviously fought right down to the end. It was crazy kind of fourth quarter.
Coach, what is, by the way, Tim Wood, Bill Bryan, Hector Longo on MVC Gridiron Weekly. What was that like in terms of that last second and them with no kicker going for the 2? You obviously prep your kids for this situation. You don't get it too often in terms of the game ender on a 2-point conversion. What's that like for you as a coach to see your kids step up?
Yeah, we were actually just watching it with them this morning, and we talked about it because we had gone over that during the week after we, there was only a few touchdowns that Lawrence had on film. We kind of noticed, it was like, every single time they were going for 2, so it must, just figured out the situation. They didn't have a kicker, so yeah, it was definitely something we stressed during the week. We knew it was, pretty much every single time it was going to either be the quarterback, number 3, or number 5, who were going to have the ball in their hands. So we just kind of geared up to stop those 2 guys, and the kids made plays, did a good job.
So, John, I'm old and grouchy and complain about everything in my life, and so one of my pet peeves is the too many divisions, too many teams making the playoffs. I'm guessing from the Lowell High point of view, you couldn't be happier that 8 teams make it in Division I North, because all of a sudden your kids, while struggling a little bit at 2 and 4, have a lot to play for here in the dog days of mid-October. I'm guessing you're a fan of the system.
It definitely has its flaws, its ups and its downs. It is what it is. We're going to play week to week and be ready to focus on that week and just ignore everything else.
But does it keep kids playing harder, though?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Does it keep the kids more focused and playing harder at this point in time?
I think it just kind of all depends on the character of the kids you had. Whether we've had good years or bad years in the playoffs, out of the playoffs, we've been pretty fortunate that we've kind of just had that mindset. We focus week to week, and whatever the situation is, we'll deal with it at that point. But obviously everybody wants to be in the playoffs rather than be out. But it is what it is. You got to fill your schedule. You got to be ready to compete every week.
Coach, each week we're talking to coaches and players, and it's almost like every other week there's a different rivalry. Talk a little bit about the upcoming game with Andover coming in the house, and talk a little. Is there a rivalry there? Is this Haverhill's talking about kind of a revenge play from last year? What's the motivation this week for the Lowell players and Andover coming in with a pretty important MVC game here?
Yeah, Coach Perry's done a great job. I think he's been there maybe a year or so longer than I have, and they've had some good teams over the years. We've had some good teams. We've had some great games, going back to the year Jeff was here. We had the crazy overtime game. We've had some, we lost that game, but we've had some big ones up there where we've come back and been able to score late in the fourth quarter to go ahead. So I assume it's going to be a 4-quarter game. They're very well coached, a lot of team speed. Their offensive line always plays really well. And it's just the MVC. It's week to week. It can be rivalries. It can be this or that. It's just a very competitive league. If you're not ready to play, you're going to get blown out.
Coach, tell us a little bit in terms of the foil to Tig combination. I mean, they seem to have a special connection going on, and Tig's a pretty amazing athlete in of itself. But just haven't seen the tape and haven't seen him in person. Impressive combo there.
Yeah, they work really well together. A lot of it's kind of what a lot of other teams do. It's a quick passing game. It's get the ball out quick. You don't want to get your quarterback taking shots. It's just kind of get the ball in Brendan's hands as quick as possible, and hopefully the receivers can throw a block downfield and he can spring one here and there, or at least move the chains, get positive yards.
A couple TD passes and a 2-point rush last night. Solid effort from him. Yeah,
he's consistent for us. Had a big run in the fourth quarter on one of the plays on the scoring drive that we had.
How do you, Coach, in terms of? I mean, you had a tough last second loss to Methuen. How do you keep these kids in the right frame of mind in terms of taking the most out of a loss and keeping it moving forward?
Yeah, we talked about it. It's the good things and the bad things about football. The bad thing is you only get one shot a week at getting a win on a Friday night. The good news is you get to bounce back the next week and prepare for a whole different opponent and reset your focus and improve on the mistakes that you made. Try to correct those things and build upon the things that you're doing well.
Tell us a little bit in terms. So if I'm building a fantasy football team of unsung heroes, who needs to be on that team from Lowell?
I think some of our linemen are doing a real good job. Brian Callery's playing really well for us. Josh Ratnoff, Manny Mancina. Linemen are doing a pretty good job. Rashawn Settles, defensively and actually offensively, he caught the winning touchdown last night for us. Not really a receiving threat for us, more of a kind of an edge blocker for Brendan. But very good defensive player for us. I don't have his exact stats off the top of my head, but makes tons of tackles. He's all over the place.
Coach, we're talking Lawrence and we're talking Lowell. It's a matchup that historically goes way back. It used to be the Thanksgiving game. How important is it important to you at all, actually, to keep the tradition with these two teams playing and kind of making this game a little bit more special than some of the others on the agenda? Does that matter anymore?
Yeah, I think it's definitely tradition. We've talked about that with the kids here. Two relatively similar communities. Lawrence has obviously done some nice things. They've built the high school with the athletics facilities right there, which unfortunately seems like Lowell is going to screw up and not do that. So that's definitely a big advantage for them at this point. But whether it's been Mike or Randy coaching there, I always thought they had real tough kids. They, coached well. I thought they played, to their credit, they did a good job last night. It was, obviously a 1-point game. They played well. It's just, little things here and there. We were fortunately, able to pull it out. We talk a lot about Lowell not beating Lowell, which was a problem in some of our losses. And I think last night we did a better job of that. We didn't, have any bad snaps. We didn't really have any turnovers. We kind of took care of some of the details that we were struggling with earlier in the season. But yeah, definitely Lowell-Lawrence rivalry. When I was in high school playing here, Lawrence was a little bit down at that point. I think that's right around the time where the Thanksgiving Day kind of fell apart. But yeah, like I said, Mike, Randy, they've done a great job over the years. Always have a good quarterback who can run and throw, and some skilled kids who are incredibly athletic.
Tell us just a little bit in terms of Justin Villanueva. I mean, he, again, it's just saw it in person against Methuen, but he just seems like a constant momentum shifter for you guys.
Yeah, he's been banged up a little bit with an ankle sprain. It's definitely been a big loss for us the last couple of weeks. Just real solid kid defensively, makes a lot of tackles on the run game, but he's also athletic enough at linebacker to drop, get in pass coverage. He can blitz if we need him to do that, and definitely more of a power style running back that we can run, the inside zone stuff, and he can kind of lower his shoulder and gain an extra yard here and there when we need it.
All right, so we're always asking about the players that are unsung heroes. Coaching life is not an easy life, and so who's the unsung hero in your camp in terms of your family, or who's the unsung hero that makes the coaching life possible for you?
so I don't get in trouble at home. I absolutely got to say my wife.
I setting up the softball for you.
Yeah,
Coach.
John, been on the tee for a long time.
right. That's a good.
I mean, it's definitely tough on her. It's the homework after school with the kids. It's getting the kids to all their sporting events. Coaching is tough. You miss out on a lot of things. My kids are getting a little older now, which is some pluses and minuses to that. It's a positive that I'm actually able to have my boys with me on the sideline, and they can be the water boys and stuff. The downside of that is they're also, getting to the age where they're playing their own sports and stuff. And obviously with younger kids, a lot of that's on the weekends and after school and evenings. And it's a scramble sometimes to get to places. So yeah, no, she keeps things going, and then the staff here. I mean, a head coach can't do everything. I have great coordinators, and just all the guys in the program, from strength coach who runs the weight room and does a defensive linebackers, and just real good guys. Yeah.
I was just trying to buy you like 30 extra minutes of film time without the sideways looks this weekend, Coach.
Clearly the pause was for the kids too.
Yeah.
I think that's as a guy who's volunteering.
Am I going to mention the kids or am I going to mention the wife first? That's all it was.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
So nice recovery. You got them both in there, and you'll be free tonight.
Well, hey, John,
all right, thanks.
We definitely appreciate your time. Obviously, it's you're a busy guy, but we appreciate you checking
I don't know
in with
if you
us.
wanted. I have one of our players here. If you wanted to talk to him at all, Brian Callery, senior captain, O-line, D-line. If you want to talk to him at all.
Yeah, you got him. Put him on.
All right, he's right here. I told him not to say anything stupid, so here we go.
Hey, Brian, this is Bill Bryant. I've known your dad for a long time and coached against him, so I'll echo, be smart in what you say right now and tell your dad I said hello.
Oh, this is Pat's son?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Good for you, Brian. You're a success, man. Good stuff. Welcome, Brian. Hey, good win for you guys
He's
last night.
overcoming genes, is that what you're saying?
Pat's a great guy, and Pat's very intense, so...
I never noticed that.
Yeah.
Coaching against him, I never noticed it. Brian, good win for you guys last night.
Yeah, very good. Hard-fought game with Lawrence. Really tough team. Since I've been here, every game we've played against them has been a tough game.
So talk a little bit about your season. I know you got a little padding on your hands from an earlier injury. How has that been to adjust this year?
Yeah, it was kind of tough with the hand injury, but just got to get used to playing with one hand. But now I'm back with two, so it's kind of better on the offensive line, be able to grab people. Defensively, it's easier to shed blocks, try and get to the ball.
Senior this year?
Yeah, senior year.
I know you've done a lot of camps and getting your name out there for what's coming after high school. What's going on with that? Anything developing?
Still up in the air right now. I got a couple of schools that have been in contact with me. Couple of D2, D3 schools. Actually going to go home after practice today and do my mid-season highlights and send them out and see what everyone has to say.
Get you huddled together, essentially, yeah?
Yeah, basically.
So, go ahead.
Now, Brian, I asked you, Coach, this. I'll ask you, how important is it for you to play in the playoffs here? How important is it to keep grinding and make the North playoffs?
To me, it's very important. You'd rather be playing in the playoffs than filling in your schedule and watching everyone else play. As a little kid watching Little High play, I've always dreamed about playing in the playoffs, and last year we did it, and we got bounced the first round. But hoping Friday night we can go out, play tough with Andover, and get back in the playoffs and maybe make a little bit of noise.
Now, obviously, coming with that means you might have to face a monster, an Everett, a St. John's. Does something like that, a challenge like that, does that excite you as well?
Yeah, it's always great to be playing the best competition in the state, in the North at least. Last year we played Everett as a regular season game. I'm never afraid to go and play like the best competition out there. It makes me better, makes the team better, and it's always great to have that chip as the underdog.
And speaking about really good competition, did you run into Brandon Santoro at all last night?
Yeah, a couple of plays I ran into him. He's a great player. I remember him from last year. He played great last year. He played great yesterday. He's to me, he's one of the best linebackers in the league. Hard kid, plays downhill. A couple of times he got me last night, but yeah, he is a great player.
Must have been a great matchup. It's the game within the game. That must be pretty cool too.
Yeah, it's always nice playing kids that you have played the past 4 years, seeing myself and them get better as we play each other.
So on a lighter note, when you're on the field, you don't really hear other than just kind of the noise. What would be one of the two top things that you may hear from your dad yelling out to the field, trying to give you encouragement? What's something you might be hearing your dad say?
Most of the time, it's about the snaps, keeping the snaps down, and just playing tough, bodying up kids, shedding blocks. It really encourages me a lot. But
definitely.
But a lot of the time, it's a lot of criticism. But it's nice to get that criticism.
Every knock's a boost. It's only going to make you better, Brian. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So once you get away from the team today, what's the rest of the weekend looking like for you?
I'll go home, ice up everything that hurts, get a little sleep in, go to work tonight, and then tomorrow I'll wake up and watch some film on Andover and get ready for the next week.
Where do you work?
Lindsay's in Drake.
Nice. I mean, that's a heavy load in the middle of football season with practice and school. Still able to keep a job. That's a lot of juggling.
Your dad make you work, Brian? I'd say something if I was you.
Yeah, that's a smart advice to talk back to Pat Gallery.
Yeah. Don't follow that, Brian. Don't follow that advice. Hector's just trying to stir it up.
Well, this is a pleasant surprise to have you on.
Yeah, bonus.
Any other shout out to any of your fellow teammates that haven't been talked about? The Ties in Villanueva. Those guys are getting the stats. What about side by side with you on the line, kind of chugging through?
It's the offensive line. Last year, I was the only one that played, that started, but just having the guys step up, and we played pretty good up front. Josh Ratenoff and Manny next to me with Ty Chan and Lewis. It's just working hard, trying to keep everything going. Rashawn Settle is a great player. Steals a couple of my tackles, but it's okay. Brendan Ty, he's a great kid, great player. Justin, I've been playing with my whole life. Hard player, great leader.
Awesome.
Good stuff.
Hey, bonus coverage here. Our first 2-for-1 interview on the show, but we're very happy you took the time for us and continued success here. Big game with Andover coming in next week, and go get them.
This might be a new trend, coach to player. I like this.
I like the pass on the phone. I like it.
Thanks for coming on, Brian. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend. All right. Back to back. So we're gonna take a quick break here. We will talk about Game 7, Week 7 games. We'll talk about star performers, including probably my vote for star performer of the week. We'll see how the other guys feel about it. Very personal choice. We'll talk about that after the break here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. I love talking about my man Val Davila. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now Right in Place Insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and Mapfre, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? Davila and DeFusco prides itself in having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 978-241-7950 for a free quote, or visit them online at daviladefusco.com.
Everyone is cashing in on social media, and all marketing roads lead through social media. If you want to make a splash here in the Merrimack Valley, you need to tap in. This is where the new CEM podcast studios come in. Of course, you can spend your time, energy, and money learning how to wrangle technology to make a podcast instead of running your business. Or you can invest in telling everyone in the Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, the Seacoast, or everywhere in the world about your great business, product, service, or yourself. The CEM Podcast Studio is a local audio and video studio dedicated to the craft of podcasts. Their studios feature state-of-the-art recording and mixing equipment designed specifically to produce the best audio and video podcast. Best of all you need to worry about is your show, your business, and your brand. We do the rest. Call 978-686-9966. That's 978-686-9966 to schedule a no-obligation tour of the CEM facilities and meet with a podcast specialist. Or go to CEMpodcast.com to find out more about podcasting services. CEMpodcast.com, your window to the world.
Here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by DeVille and DeFusco Insurance, also presented by Jen Hamilton, Realtor from Keller Williams Realty. Listen, if you're buying or you're selling in the Merrimack Valley and beyond, Jen Hamilton is the choice, the platinum choice in terms of making the deal happen for you. Fall market is in full swing. Want to get your house in order before the snow comes. Get your no hassle free assessment from Jen Hamilton at Keller Williams Realty. Jen's happy this morning. Jen's she's a Methuen. All the way through, but and Valley all the way through, but a big Central supporter as well. So Jen is smiling this morning as she's doing her showings. 508-954-7941. Call today for a free assessment and consultation. Put Jen Hamilton's experience to work for you. Jen Hamilton, Realtor, huge supporter, and huge thank you to her for supporting MVC Gridiron Weekly. Okay, so let's start with the playoff picture.
Okay,
Hector, we talked Division I North. Mm-hmm. What are the other teams facing here?
Okay, so first of all, I will give a shout out to Jim Clark at the Boston Herald, because he's the guy who maintains all this. While it's unofficial, it's pretty darn close to what it's good at this point in time. There are some league automatic bids for league titles and things like that other teams might get. But for the most part, he's right on. So big ups to Jim. It's a ton of work.
To even having a basis of conversation is huge.
Yeah, to get this done, big ups to him. So if you look at Division II North, North Andover is the top seed, 6-0 with 19.17 points. Chelmsford's in trouble at 0-6. They're the 11. Looks like they're headed to non-playoffs in D2 North. Sliding to D3 North, this is where it kind of gets interesting. Tewksbury's solid at 5-1. They're the number 2 seed right now. Chasing hard. It's a minuscule percentage point behind Belmont. Down at the bottom, though, is where it could get interesting and kind of dicey for Coach Sigsbury and Bill Ricker. They're right now they're number 7 with their 2-3 record, but within a couple of whiskers of points there are both Concord Carlisle and Lynn Classical. So Bill Ricker will have to. It looks like
they gotta beat North Andover.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not beat North Andover, but 1-1 over the next 2 weeks gets it done for them. North Andover, that's a tough.
That's a
big hill, tough ask for them. And then finally in Division IV North, Dracut is the 6th seed right now at 3-2, but there's some company there. The point that they're solid, but Wilmington is 3-3 on the outside looking in right now at the number 9 spot, and if they put together 2 wins, so Dracut probably again 1-1 split gets them in there. In D4 North,
Dracut at Tewksbury, another big ask, but they can
again,
match
though,
up. They can match
if
up.
if they're what we thought they were early in the year, that's an important, big win for them. Yeah. That's a game they can win. And this was not a game where they did not. They stood toe to toe with North Andover for a while Friday night. So, that Drake at Tewksbury game ends up being, an important game for seeding wise for both of those schools.
Right.
Obviously, Tewksbury's looking to get at least a home game, but maybe a top seed, and so. It'll be interesting now. Obviously, you get 2 weeks to get where that shakes out, and all of a sudden it's playoff time.
You got a lot of teams right now. This is the part of the season where the injuries start to take their toll.
Right.
You got Darren Watson nursing a shoulder injury. All signs seem to say they were holding him out precautionary, but. Shoulder's a shoulder, and you're certainly gonna use that in the middle of the game. And then Methuen, we talked about it. Kareem Coleman fighting a concussion.
It wasn't a concussion, but it was a head injury, and they kept him out. And to me, that's. We talked about early in the show when we first started that football isn't about you need to have a concussion to sit out. You need to have the best interest in the kid in mind, and they sat him out for a week and maybe two, depending on just this is the kid's future. So did not have a concussion, but they sat him out for a week just as a precautionary measure.
You've got a lot of these teams with fighting some injuries with their stars, as Coach mentioned. Villanueva for Lowell's fighting through some stuff. Everybody, let's be honest, everybody's fighting through some stuff right about now. Everybody's sitting a little extra in that ice tub.
And that was my point about depth.
I was going to say, it circles around to Bill's point about depth.
And that was all my point. It wasn't an essential jab. It was just depth is very important during a tough season, especially in a conference like this where every single week is a battle. Drake at Tewksbury, where here we are again. Wow, this is a huge matchup. North Andover, Barica. This is something that Barica's really, needs to step up. They got some solid players. Nolan's playing, outstanding at quarterback, and they have an incredible passing game. So there's another great week of a schedule. Haverhill-Central. Did you think week one that this was going to be a game you circled as a potential?
No, but that's definitely, a game to watch next week. That place, Trinity Stadium, will be packed next week. I can guarantee you that. I think Joe mentioned it earlier. The fan support's been great in Haverhill. The people have turned out, and it's like a challenge to Central when you say, "Well, Haverhill's crowd's going to be bigger." All of a sudden, the Central kids start to care, and they come out, and so that ends up being not a sleeper game, but a really big game when it comes to D1 North.
And one of Tim's points about Methuen-Lawrence, Lawrence is reeling. They have a new coach. They just had a really close game. Their confidence is high. Methewen's coming off a tough loss, a disappointing loss. So how do you rebound and recover? Do you see some turmoil and kind of sleep on Lawrence and get surprised? Or do you do what Joe Santoro said? You go back to the grind and you fix it and you come out and you put down what you need to do.
Let's talk star performers. We mentioned Freddy Gabin, 273 yards, rushing 249-yard TD runs, a 56-yard TD run. Huge night for Freddy. Freddy. North Andover offense, 351 yards rushing total, including rushing TDs from Jake McElroy, Michael Defoe.
Good luck.
Mark Federico as well. Huge night for them. Jared Silverio, Central Catholic, 26-yard TD pass to Nick
Donadio,
15-yard screen pass TD to Mark Cassis. Cassis?
What? It's Cassis.
Cassis.
Yeah.
Okay.
But why does he keep looking at me with all the Italian-sounding names?
You know every name, not just the Italian names.
Is he ethnically profiling me?
He stopped looking this way because I would say you're on your own. But
I look
hand
at,
over some names and let other people
him
struggle.
For the Irish and Nick Donadio. Thanks again, guys. From Central Catholic.
And Nick is a guy I don't think we've mentioned all year, but anytime you talk to Coach A, he just beams about the year that kid's having. I won't say he said he's been their best player, but he said he's been one of their top players all year long. And we haven't talked about him a lot, obviously, but he's been there week after week for them. The Donadio kid.
Now, just as because you brought up Coach A, conspiracy theory was going through my head while we were sitting at Al's Diner this morning, which you haven't joined us yet for. you always mention that it's you have that Saturday. Do you have breakfast with Coach A on Saturdays? Is that why you haven't joined us?
No, I don't have.
Are you sure?
I don't have breakfast. As a matter of fact, I cherish my hours of sleep. So.
So we did find out today, though, that as much as an Al's guy I am, and the cornbread, they have blueberry cornbread.
Oh, boy.
Oh, God.
And
I'm just telling. And,
I was unaware
Kelly,
of that.
Kelly and Al says it's even better than the regular cornbread.
Yeah.
I bought because we still got some leftover chili, so I bought a bunch of cornbread to bring home.
What happens?
A lot of leftover
That's what
chili.
happens when you become tied for third.
13 pounds.
You have leftover
Tied for
chili.
third. Partial voting.
I will say, excuse me. I will say this. Coach A and I often have lunch on Saturdays.
Lunch. Okay.
Outside of football season.
Where do we go?
The Seabrook Racetrack, because we're watching the horses.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. You see my dad down there? You probably do.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, my
I didn't know that
dad's.
place was still open.
My dad's at Seabrook every Saturday.
So yes.
So we're calling that lunch these days.
Yeah,
you
Chuck
have
and I
to
meet for lunch, and if we happen to
Have a hot dog or
if we happen
a
to
bag of
share,
pretzels.
Liquid lunch with a
bag of
side of
pretzels.
tickets.
You have to consider blueberries next year.
Chuck
in
and
your
I
chili.
are
Yes.
the two people under 60 left who still like horse racing. So
Right here, brother.
well, there you go.
Right here.
And so,
my dad, my dad's probably at Scarborough Downs up in Maine
So if you're
today.
there and there's a horse, Freddy, put down to win for.
Oh, brother.
Speaking of the Freddy thing, was that the late Aretha Franklin who said that in that? Was that?
Yeah, with the what?
The late Aretha Franklin, was she the one who came up with the Freddy
I think
thing?
so.
I think it was.
Yeah, God, great,
yeah.
great.
So, referencing to Freddie Blassie, who was part of the rock wrestling conspiracy back in the day. If anybody wants to talk 80s wrestling with me, I'd be glad
Bring
to.
it, Iron Sheik, Iron Sheik, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Yeah, well, I was never a fan of Duggan.
No.
But I was a Roddy Piper guy.
Oh yeah, Piper's Pit, all the way, all the way.
But anyway.
I am a little confused though. One of the star performances, Tim Woodman, for coming in third
saying.
with a chili.
Okay, Lou.
Is this the trophy for everyone type of situation?
Bill's the
right now?
vote. Bill's the vote. His sister is in the contest. Initially, this was just supposed to be his wife versus me, and then he brings in like 6 other people. I like competition as much as the next one, but I don't like partial voting.
So we had 6 crock pots. I had no idea whose was who, and if there was an impartial, to my sister, she would have come in first. She came in second.
Okay.
Tim's bitter because he came in tied for third.
Who came in first?
TK Chili. It's someone that I just met. She showed up. She ran the whole chili station. I would come up, take a bowl from her, a little taste test. And
Now, was that the pumpkin chili?
no, it was the white bean chili.
White?
It
You
was.
went white bean
It was
chili?
awesome.
Was it really?
One of the chilies was just way over hot. I mean, it was just
Yeah.
I've never made that. I've never
It's almost
made
like
that
you're-
proportion before.
You're hiding the taste with the cayenne pepper.
There was a
my
big-
wife does not like the cayenne pepper, and it's the first time that I've had to Google like how to
off?
rescue a hot chili. You can't get it back. You put all the ingredients in, you do all your prep, you get all the freshest ingredients. You can't get it back when you put too much cayenne pepper.
There was a big cook-off in Newburyport last week too.
Oh yeah,
and one of the restaurants brought a pumpkin one, and that was really good.
Yeah, the pumpkin
So you
one
should
was
think
good.
blueberry
pumpkin
next year.
spice chili.
So just real quick though, because we keep talking about chili, we keep talking about who has the best concessions and all that. But with Pat, on the Pat's son on the show, Pat's wife is someone that's in the Lowell concession stand night in and night out for the past 20 years. So maybe not necessarily about who has the best food. How about a shout out to all these parents and people that volunteer each week, and that's some of the things that the athletic department supplement some of their equipment, uniforms, and shirts. And so a thank you to all the Methuen Ranger Nation, family that showed up and supported and did the 50-50, the halftime show. But basically missing an entire football game.
Huge shout out to all the concession workers around the entire MVC. But I mean, just to be fair, I don't see them on the star performers list this week. I just you didn't. Did you read the full thing?
We actually bumped.
Did you read the full thing?
We bumped Tim and we put the concession folks.
Did you read?
I did.
Delivered on the promise. Brought 10 pounds of chili to the Methuen-Central game a day after debilitating migraine. I mean, come on.
All right, we'll let you stay there.
Should I be on the MVP list?
But Freddie Gabin's going to beat you there
Yeah,
too,
he
'cause
is.
You're going to vote for Freddie over yourself.
Why even put him on it?
Can I complain like Hector here?
Yes.
As the weather gets colder here, you can't run out of hot chocolate at the concession stands.
No.
That's a
Good Great point.
That's a mistake.
Who did that?
No, nobody
just over
did.
the
just
course
in
of the
general.
years.
All right.
It's just
It's happened
a general
over the course
thought.
of the years.
It's a general thought.
Not a
Especially
Methuen.
on the
Yeah.
Thanksgiving day.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving game day. I've been at not in Methuen. I've been at Thanksgiving Day games that ran out of hot chocolate and coffee and ran out of concession money.
You're standing in the woods at Drake on a cold night. You need your hot chocolate.
And in the same vein, Lou, put a little work into the hot chocolate.
Yes.
Too,
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
That means something.
Not
people.
watery.
Don't hand the person an envelope and the water and go, here you go, mix it yourself.
Yeah.
Put a little work into that, okay?
Where are these places that run out and giving you packets of hot chocolate?
I've seen it before, Bill. It's ugly. Okay, it's ugly.
We've seen everything over about 30 years
I was gonna
of concessions,
in
right?
the 64,372 high school games I've covered in the last 30 years, it seems like that would be one of my gripes too. So
I covered high school football in Sullivan Valley in upstate New York, and the schools are probably 40 miles apart. It's the most ridiculous conference I've ever covered, and you had to go through the woods to get the hut. They had a special hot chocolate hut at Monticello High School where you had to walk outside of the stadium. You had to walk like another quarter mile just to get the hot chocolate. It was a thing. You talk about actually doing up your hot chocolate. It was worth the walk, but it was the silliest thing I've ever seen.
So the winning chili person is giving you a little bit of
This is the KR?
KT chili.
The KT
right here.
chili.
Tim, don't feel bad. People liked your hot chili. Just white beans tasted better.
Yeah.
Sorry, maybe next time.
Absolutely.
Wow.
That's a little victory dance right there.
Listen. Well earned. I didn't taste it, but
Thanksgiving Day game.
I was hearing about it all last night. So great job,
Thanksgiving
Katie.
Day game, Drake versus Methuen. You know, obviously playoffs, all these other things, but Thanksgiving's a special game. Methuen and Drake have a great rivalry. That's going to be home in Methuen. We might have to have round two and maybe a cook-off between the top three to make sure you get in there, because it was the top two.
Will Tim go turkey chili in that case?
Ooh, I don't know.
I will never, ever.
Just
I will never go. Listen, I will never go pumpkin. I will never go chocolate. I will never go bourbon.
Oh, wait a second.
So Lou, you got the poll up, and
I've been at the chili cookouts where they go. I go right down the middle.
Yep.
This time I didn't.
You're a purist?
It's on me. I'm a purist in terms of chili. Pumpkin, no.
You just talked about 4 chilies I'd really love to taste.
I mean, the chocolate chili was pretty good. This one night, this cook-off I was in down south. So this poll just popped up on Facebook Live here, Lou. I hadn't seen it, but the poll graphic actually popped up now. So you can now vote.
Where, on your laptop or on the phone?
On the screen here, too.
See, this is a new Facebook feature. I haven't figured it out.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell's going on.
So you can, I guess, is this voting here on Facebook, too?
Yes.
Okay, so you can vote on the Facebook.
It's just a little, for the show, a little poll, just to see how...
you can vote on Facebook. You can,
Consider it testing the waters for the big contest.
Absolutely. So...
I know we're coming close to wrapping it.
Yeah, just go through a couple. I don't want to leave people out in terms of some of these other stars.
But before we do that, and I will go through the stars, I do need to give a shout out. I usually give a shout out to the field goal kicker of the week on the Hector Longer Memorial Field Goal Kicker of the Week.
Yep.
But I'm going to deviate from that plan today because I know how much Bill loves unsung heroes. I noticed in today's story there was a note from the Haverhill Andover game about somebody recovering an onside kick. His name was Matt McGinnis from Haverhill High School. I've known Matty forever. I coached him, I think, when he was in 3rd grade or 4th grade in basketball. And if you had told me way back then that Matt McGinnis was ever going to be a varsity athlete, I would have laughed in your face. Okay, same way I would have laughed about my son, by the way.
It's the beauty of it, though.
But Matt McGinnis, who started as the catcher on the Haverhill High baseball team last year, and is now playing football for the Hillies, has worked harder than any kid I know to get there.
That's awesome.
That's a kid who just loves sports, and he's a very intelligent kid who I know wants to get into the sports media business someday. He's probably the nicest kid I ever coached, one of the best kids, and he's so driven. So I'm giving my Matt McGinnis moment here to him. It's part of the King game. He recovered an onside kick.
Nice.
He honest to God, one of the greatest kids you'll meet. And I'm proud of you, Maddie, for what you've done, being a little part of your athletic growth as a child. He played hoops with us, and he was just a great kid to be around. So I did want to throw that out there. Again, Tim talked about our stars of the week. Sean Morgan at Central Catholic with a 60-yard TD on a punt return. Joey Haushin, a 13-yard touchdown run. Key stops playing at safety. He's playing with an injury, and he's having a big year. Really tough kid. Anthony Garcia of Lawrence, 5 catches, 116 yards. Jacob Tamayo, another solid week at QB, 18 of 23, 203 yards and 2 TDs. We talked about Brendan Ty and Joe Santoro. The Hillie defense coming up big against Andover. One guy they couldn't stop was Tommy Duncan, 16 carries, 103 yards.
In the last couple, Jake Connolly and Jack Kelly from Tewksbury. Yep. Tough. Chelmsford's having a tough year, so you're not getting a lot of love to Tewksbury because, winning 35-0. But those kids, week in and week out, are producing. Scaffers from Havel, 33 touchdown pass to McGinnis, a 1-yard touchdown, quarterback sneak, and a really just shocking, convincing win over a well-coached Andover team. Duncan for Andover, 16 carries, 103 yards in the first half. And then I know we've talked about Houlihan, but 15 for 25, 257, 2 TD passes, a rushing TD. And like Tim talked about, you never want to talk negative, but they were so close to winning that game. And there's a video online of him throwing a 60-yard, just absolute BB. And I know on our Wednesday show, there's giving shout-outs to my son. There's some serious quarterbacks in this league that are juniors. Houlihan is one of the top quarterbacks that just has an absolute cannon of an arm and is a battler. And it would have been the difference, between them winning and losing against Catholic Memorial. So great star performance and a great poll going up. And like I said, Barica is leading the charge. It's a community that absolutely loves their sports and as a coach against them, I'm definitely someone they love to hate, but much respect goes out for this team. They're battling this year, and they've got a huge game against North Andover coming up this Friday, which is going to be great.
Houlihan is third currently in the voting. We got about 110 votes during the show here, so that's an awesome start. Freddy off to a 49% lead. Jared Silvera again, Central. They save it all for the field, apparently.
Lou, why does it 4%. Say Tim has voted 74 times? I thought it was one vote per person.
I hacked Twitter, I guess. So, Jared, 4% for Jared. Come on, Central. Get out for your boy.
So this poll is just a preview.
That's just
this
Facebook.
This isn't the official poll that's on Twitter.
Right,
all right.
Right. This is we'll combine them eventually. But I gotta say, it's a weird dynamic. Each one of our online shows has a different niche in terms of which medium really they gravitate towards.
Right.
The Ranger Nation radio show is much more Facebook. Twitter's starting to pick up, but guys, you guys on Twitter with MVC Gridiron Weekly, you're killing it. Even though it's not even a direct link, which I'm going to work on with our restream, but we'll get the link up to the show. And you guys have been watching it like crazy on Twitter. So, listen, huge shout out to the fan base here and to the folks who have embraced this show so quickly over the course of this fall.
Who's our graphics guy again, Tim?
Chris Khaleesi.
I saw him last night. Met him.
Did you?
Came over, introduced himself.
I didn't see him.
Said, I think I feel like I know you, and I just couldn't stop telling him. I mean, look at this. Look at the graphics and the scoreboard's coming up. It just. It makes it more exciting.
And
for
this
the
is, by the way, this is not me telling. Like, he does a lot of work for me with just the company in general. This is not me telling him on this. This was he.
He said he's having a
huge
ton of fun. Loves football. Loves sports.
A huge high school football fan. And the minute we started talking about this show, he just started throwing this stuff at me, like these score graphics. He's incredibly talented.
But shout out to him.
Award-winning designer.
Great to meet you, and look forward to seeing more of your stuff. And you do some incredible work.
And Drake, we will get the full. We'll get the intro graphic with the correct logo as well. I got an email from the folks over at Drake It just saying love the show with capital LOVE, but they sent the updated logo, so we have them in the standings. We'll get them on the main graphic, but shout out to the Drake It audience for watching.
And I'm going to put a little challenge out there to Drake It and Tewksbury and Billerica. John Houlihan, if you're watching, we'd love to get an invite to one of these towns and maybe do the show on satellite. So try to get us a place, a breakfast place or a lunch place, and we'd love to go there and get the towns more understanding.
Our folks,
I like your optimism.
Yeah,
satellite.
Yeah, we get the satellite hookup.
The Eagle satellite.
Buying the satellite link time back to 1987, right?
I always bite off more than I can chew.
Hey, listen, I mean, as we've said, our main focus was making this show professional, having fun with it, making sure that we include the full league. We appreciate. It's not possible without Val Davila and DeFusco Insurance. It's made it. It's made us able to focus on making the show great rather than having to chase the advertisers this first season. That said, we are always looking for advertisers. We're looking to keep this show going into the winter, and we are definitely looking to get out into the community to do this show because we've heard it from everybody. We've heard it. We'd love to have you.
You need an MVC cornbread contest here.
Ooh, boy.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
I mean, think about talking Lawrence Lowell basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about football here, but in my head, all I'm thinking about is all the seniors this year for Lowell and Lawrence coming off a huge year, and Methuen's got, just MVC basketball just.
My fingers were freezing off at the game I was at last night, so I don't want to think about the winter yet. So you guys don't push
let's not go there yet. Yeah. I mean, it's so bizarre to go from 83 on Wednesday to this today, but we'll survive it.
Where's the tropical weather from this? From this hurricane, the remnants of the hurricane.
Gloves.
I don't want to be cold.
Put some gloves on.
I know.
And by the way, we're online. Even though the folks around here are mostly focused on it, we're online. So we definitely have some family that are viewing from far away with their grandkids or their nieces and their nephews. Big shout out and prayers to all the folks down in Florida fighting this hurricane for sure. We know we've got some viewers down there and big shout out and our prayers to you. I've survived a couple of those hurricanes living down there. Everybody says, why would you come back up from the south? It's kind of one of those. It's one of those downsides of living on the coast down south. So, huge week in the MVC. Huge week 7 coming up. Showdowns, all playoff ramifications all over the place. Like we said, Andover at Lowell, Chelmsford at Westford, Central Catholic at Haverhill, Methuen at Lawrence, North Andover at Billerica, Drake at Tewksbury. We'll be back to talk them all. We're in overtime today. Huge shout out to all 22 Lou for making that possible, and we'll be back at you next week. Vote on the poll. At MVC Gridiron Week on Twitter, and like we said, huge shout out to just a huge thank you, heartfelt thank you to everybody that's been watching and sharing the link, spreading the word about the show. It's our pleasure. We're really when we talked about conceiving this show and making it happen. This is the most fun I have all week. Just between the ribbon and just talking football. It's a lot of fun, and we look forward to it each and every week. We'll be back at you next week, talking the Week 7 matchups, getting a clear picture of the playoffs. Final thoughts, guys?
I thought we were done 15 minutes ago.
Right. We're like in Bill Maher overtime.
That's why I gave my final thought. I'm not even getting it.
I got nothing.
All right. For Bill Bryant, for Hector Longo, for Lou Blasi, for you, a huge thank you to John Florence, to Joe Santoro, to Freddy, Gabin, all our guests.
Brian Keller.
Hello, Brian, the bonus guest, and again, on demand all throughout the week on loopweekly.com and on Twitter at MVC Gridiron Weekly. Talk to you next week. Great week of football. Patriots, Red Sox, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance.
Peace.